learn about?
I think continue to learn about for sure, but that was definitely in our research and our reference work. That was something that came out, just the type of teammate he was, the type of leader he was.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Daryl Ryder, go ahead.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Odell. You said you've been ramping him up slowly and listening to the training staff. I'm just curious, is he on track to be ready for the opener September 12th?
Yeah, Daryl, he's on track for today. You know, I'm not really going too far past today and the next day. So he'll be out there today moving around in some drills. So that's really, I'm not going to really worry about the future in that regard.
And then I wanted to ask you about Curtis Weaver in that defensive end group. What have you seen from him, and you know, just where's he stand?
Yeah, Curtis had some nice moments in the game the other day. Continues to do a nice job in practice and in all of the drill work. So he's just got to keep coming along.
Thanks.
Thank you, Daryl. Nate Ulrich, you're up.
Hey, Kevin, I know the starters announcement's going to come Friday, but in terms of Tack, do you now know whether you're going to play him Sunday? Do you have to see how he practices first? What goes into that?
Yeah, Nate, I'd say similarly with a lot of guys that are coming back, just want to see how they look the next few days before making any determinations.
Okay, and are you going to get anybody else back today? Like, you know, Greedy Williams, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, Anthony Schwartz, or anybody else?
Yeah, I think we'll see. You can check them off the roster when you're out there.
Thanks, Nate. Jeff Shadell, you have the next question.
Hey, Kevin, we asked you about Malik McDowell after that game on Sunday, but what's he like in the meeting rooms, and what's he like off the field for you?
Yeah, he's been great, Jeff. He's been great in the meeting rooms, like you mentioned, around the building, out on the grass. He's in a really good place, works very hard, is very serious about his craft. So I see him making strides every day, working with Coach Kiff, working with Coach Garrett.
Thanks, Jeff. Marla Ridenour, we'll go to you.
Yeah, Coach. Greg Newsome was talking today about how the matchup with Marvin Jones really helped him, and he sort of put it all together in this past game. Have you noticed that maybe he took a leap there? He seems like he felt so much more comfortable.
Yeah, Marla, I think that's natural for a rookie to get more comfortable as the reps pile up. And I think you've seen that with Greg over the course of training camp. And then to go in these game situations where the intensity builds a little bit more. And when you get beat in the game, it's points. When you get beat in practice, it's, you know, the whistle blows. So he's gaining really good experience out there. You know, you mentioned Marvin Jones. That's a savvy veteran that you face up against in your first matchup as a pro. So only going to continue to get better with the work he gets both on the practice field and on the game field.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marla. Mary Kay Cabot is next.
Hey, Coach, just wondering, in regards to Tack, in the limited times that you were able to see him in spring practices and mini camp and things like that, what were what kinds of things were you seeing out of him, and what is the skill set that you're looking forward to bringing to the table here?
Yeah, Mary Kay, I think the thing that you saw on tape with Tack, and certainly the thing that I've seen up close and personal, is how he gets off the ball. He's very explosive. He makes plays getting up the yard, penetrating, has a really good motor. So those are the type of things that we saw on tape, and excited to see more of from Tack.
Thanks, Mary Kay. Dan Lava, you have our next question.
Hey, Kevin. I had a chance to talk to Gaddarrell Hodge today, and he strikes me as a guy that's kind of willing to do whatever you guys need him to do to get on the field. So is that a fair way to describe him, and how valuable is it to have a guy like that?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to describe him, Dan. He's played many different roles for us this past season, continue to move him around the formation. So, yeah, I think he's a versatile football player that isn't a one-position player for us as a receiver.
Does he ever get in your ear about trying to throw a pass in a game?
All those guys do, every single one of them.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Back to Nate Ulrich.
Hey, Kevin, David Njoku has talked to us about having a better mindset that he did last year, feeling like he's in a really good place and wanting to be here and everything. Have you seen that manifest itself in this camp? How would you characterize just, the summer he's been able to put together for you guys?
Yeah, I would say I see that, Nate, and I think he finished really strong this season, and then he came in great shape, has been really working hard at all of his techniques in the run game and pass protection, running routes, those type of things. So I see a very determined player, and I like where Dave is at.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. We'll go to Scott Patrick.
Hey, Kevin, it looked like JC was on the side yesterday, and then I think Friday he didn't do the team drills. Is he okay?
He's okay, just a normal rest.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Daryl Ryder, you're up.
Sorry for going back to Odell for a second. I just wanted to kind of follow. How's he handled this camp? Obviously, being a competitor, he probably wants to be out there every day and going full speed. We see him throwing with Baker on the side, and that. Just how has he handled you guys, sort of keeping him on ice a little bit here?
Yeah, I think he's done a nice job in the meeting rooms at walkthrough. Has a much better understanding in year 2 of the scheme of that type of thing. And then he's getting good work in. It's work that happens in the building, happens out on the practice fields. It'll increase as we go, but I think he's working really hard, really everywhere, whether meeting room, stuff that they're doing in the weight room. I think it just keeps showing up that the guy's battling. He's working very hard.
Thanks, Daryl. Mary Kay Cabot is next.
Yeah, Coach, just wondering, with a young guy like Anthony Schwartz, he was starting to show some real promise there at the beginning of camp. Does he still have time in your mind to ramp back up and be able to contribute early on, maybe even in the opener over these next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I would say I think for sure he has a chance to help us. We got to see how he does over the next few days. We'll get him out there today in some drills. So it's just a matter of how he responds to that. But yeah, I'm hopeful in that regard, Mary Kay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Back to Tony Grossi.
All right, Kevin, you were with Minnesota in 2019 when Davion Davis had his incident. Is he a different person now?
Yeah, I think so, Tony. He's grown. He's a mature young man. I think he knows he made a mistake. And ultimately, he has to answer to that. But I do see a mature young man.
And obviously, you guys knew this was pending when you signed him.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Any other questions for Coach? All right. Looks like that's a wrap for today. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
You're Hoppo.
All right, there's Coach Stefanski from his press conference.
You're up to, Nathan.
Here live right about the top of the hour. The Browns will hit the practice field in now what amounts to about 20 minutes as we welcome in the great Z. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Some stuff in there, right?
There's some
there was.
Stuff
Tack
McKinley's going to be on the field. Sounds like Schwartz will be out there, which makes you hopeful that maybe we even get to see a Grant Delpit back out there sooner rather than later. But good news, obviously, on Tack McKinley. And this is somebody that I think the Browns hope will play a prominent role in their pass rush and in their NASCAR packages this year. And so it's great to get him back. There's still plenty of time to have him ready for September the 12th against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think that, of all the news, getting him back on the practice field, to me, that's the biggest thing that we heard today. And then Anthony Schwartz as well, two guys who have tremendous speed and explosiveness and add an air of athleticism on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about those two guys specifically, they both have very specific things that they do for this team that is being counted upon, more so Tack than Schwartz. But Schwartz, and this is the thing with him, we talked about this in the drafting of him. If 10 times a game he runs a go, then that's enough.
Yes.
That satisfies it. So, he doesn't have to do everything in the playbook out of the gates. We have the luxury of having an incredibly deep and talented wide receiver room. We don't need him to come in and have 15 targets. You need him to run a go route 5 to 10 times, the first couple of weeks to help take the top off the defense. Tack, however, and this is, I lean on you on this. You've been very outward with your praise of what he is capable of and your belief in him. And you talked about how you would bet the over on the sacks if you were allowed to do so. I am, and I have. So those are things that those are things though that I take note of, because that tells me that the people in this building really are counting on Tack McKinley, and that's really the key word, counting on, as opposed to kind of it feels with Schwartz it would be a bonus if he provides that. But I think Tack is needed.
He's essential, I think, to what you want to do and the way that this team has been built. And so you think about this defense, you think about this offense, which should have some leads, a defense where they emphasize the back seven and coverage, certainly on the back five. And now you have an opportunity up front to have Miles, Clowney, Malik, and McKinley on the field together. That is going to be impossible for teams to deal with, and that's the goal. And that is why he is important, because to put Miles and Clowney next to each other, or to even put Clowney inside next to Tack, and the matchups that you're able to generate with that, that is one of the things that they were the most excited about, that flexibility. And so Tack is the key to allowing that flexibility to be a real thing that gets an opportunity to shine, because he has elite pass rushing traits, and he's never been in a position like this one. He's playing for his NFL career. He knows that. He was a former first-round pick. He racked up, 15 sacks his first 2 seasons in the league, including the playoffs. Had 2 on the Falcons' run to the Super Bowl in those playoffs. So he's played in big pressure situations. He's made big plays in those situations. He's important. He's important, and I think him being back now in a good frame of mind is wonderful news. And I do think he's going to play a big role for this team.
Yeah, it seems like. The other thing that I thought was interesting was Tony asking Coach off the top, like, will we see starters? Who will we see in this final preseason game? Of course, there's a plan for it. Coach saying that he wants to give it a couple of days of practice and that he will make that known on Friday and announce kind of who's going to play on Friday. We have seen, and again, guys, this is the first time that we've done the 3 preseason game thing. This is the first go at it. So everyone's kind of figuring out. Remember, there were habits that were in place for years in terms of how to handle the preseason games. The third one in the old days being the dress rehearsal. Some teams are taking it that way. And we'll get into this a little bit later in the show, but Joe Burrow's going to play in the Bengals' final preseason game. That's noteworthy for a guy coming off the injury he's had. So that's very noteworthy that he's going to play in that third preseason game. And I'm interested to see how Coach handles this. But acknowledging that, of course, there would be a plan because that's one of the P's, but also that would be made available on Friday by the time that he meets with the media.
Yeah, and exactly, as you said. But as soon as he said that, I thought the same thing in my mind. That's one of the P's. Of course he's got a plan. Tony, you know this. We all know it. He's got a plan here. I think that whatever they do, I'm behind, obviously, because it's Coach Stefanski. He's got that plan. J.C. Tretter earlier today said, I don't need any reps. I've got plenty of game reps in my career, but if Coach wants me to get some here, I'll do it. So at this point, I don't know if the guys know. I think he wants them to prepare probably, and that's probably part of it. Let's prepare everybody as though we are playing this week, and then we'll see what happens. My gut, and these are not scores, but my gut is we will err on the side of caution, and if there is an appearance, it will be brief.
Yeah, here's what I think what coaches are trying to figure out how to do, and some have already said, look, you're not going to see anybody. Well, you're Sean. You want to see Stafford, you see him in the opener against the Bears. You're not going to see him till then. That's what they've done, and some teams have done that. Others have worked their guys in. There's no right or wrong way. It's just the feel you have for your team. And I think one thing that you will see, there's no sure way of doing it, but the best thing you'll see is as close as you can get to a safe situation. But it's hard to do that in football. It's a contact collision sport. And so even when you try to be safe, things can go wrong. And I always get a little nervous anytime turf's involved. So it's different because it's funny. You talk to people around town. I was talking to my buddy Jeff. He was out here the other day, and he was talking about, when are we going to see some guys? And I said, look, it's a different mentality for Browns fans.
Yeah.
It's just different. Like, understand that when we get to September, what is it, the 12th? When we get to September 12th, that's the present.
And it's on, right? That's full.
Nance and Romo are going to be there. Right. Let's not worry so much about what's happening. The fourth Sunday in August. That's not where we're at. Our focus is on Kansas City. So it's just a different mentality. But I'm fascinated to see how it goes. I'm really fascinated to see how various teams in the league. I was shocked by the Burrow news. Shocked. But my guess is that Joe leaned on them and said, "Look, I need it.
I need it.
I need to feel it."
And he probably doesn't want the first time that he gets hit to be in a game that matters.
Yeah.
And to your point, and he missed 8 games last year, so he wants to go out there, and I think the trust that he has by playing and coming through it will be significant for him. That's why I think he wants to get some of that action.
Yeah, it's going to be. This is it. One more week of the preseason, and then we're on to preparation for, in our case, Kansas City, in a game that's going to have quite a bit of eyeballs on it. If your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. Coming up next, we hit you with your hot topics, some roster moves, some things that are happening within the organization, some things happening around the league. Lots of fun on the program today, off and running on a First Friday Miracle Edition. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into the program. Merely Beau, the great Z. A couple of roster moves to sort out since we were off the show yesterday, and we talked about formally the now official, the waiving of Robert Jackson and Cody Parkey and release Cody Parkey from injured reserve, and then the signing of Tegray Scales into the linebacker room. This is we need some bodies to play some games.
We need bodies, a linebacker in particular.
Yeah. So it's a guy who was with Pittsburgh a year ago and was a guy out of Indiana, and so he comes in and will provide a little bit of depth going into that final preseason game on Sunday, and a chance for him to see if somebody's interested here in him, or if somebody around the league is, and that's really what that's what this last preseason's game about. You're not just auditioning for the team you're on, but for the whole league.
Right, and it's putting that out there in tape. And a guy, as you mentioned, 4 games last year with the Steelers. He's one of those smaller linebackers, 6 foot 227. So I imagine he's somebody that can run around a little bit, and we'll see how that ultimately plays out here in his time with the Browns. But I think you're right; they need bodies, and losing Montrell Meander, who got brought in at the last second. Mack Wilson toughed out through his shoulder injury that probably wasn't fully 100% to play some in that game. If Anthony Walker's not playing, JOK got the very much, a couple snaps and you're not playing anymore. Hopefully Taki is back at practice this week, but you really had last week Mack, Elijah Lee, Malcolm Smith, JOK, who played very little, like a dozen snaps or so, and then Meander and Willie Harvey. And then you lose Meander. So we need somebody else. Tony Field's not ready to go, so they needed somebody else in that room badly just to kind of take, some of the pressure off the guys.
Well, you need it not just for the games, but for the practices. I mean, you're doing a couple of things right now. Like, we went over this yesterday when we were going through the roster with the fine-tooth comb, and you say, all right, you got maybe 5 or 6 spots, and you got 10 or 12 guys going for those 5 or 6 spots, and that's about it. But so while that is going on, and there's that fight, there's also, I would imagine there's a big part of everything we're doing right now that's tuning up for Kansas City and for the regular season.
Yep.
There's stuff that's being put in, repetitions that are being made. I don't have access to the tape in terms of what's happening in practice, but the heavy lifting has begun, folks. You're out of the quote camp portion of it. At least a part of the mindset from Kevin Stefanski has to be that, because it's going to be here before you know it. And what he has is such a rarity in this league, where he is returning his entire offense. And he wants to fine-tune that thing, and he wants to evolve that thing and get it even better than it was a year ago when it was really good. And so that work is going to be done between now and September 12th. If there are things that he wants to install, that's all happening right now.
Yep.
So while we're talking about the very bottom of this roster, 5, 6 spots, 10, 12 guys, he is too. That's Andrew Berry and him. They talk every single day, probably multiple times about those things. But he's also starting to prepare for Kansas City.
You've got to, and I think that that's where the focus will really turn. Probably beginning next week for everybody in the organization. Yeah. But a lot of these guys are still getting ready. But we're worried about Kansas City. We're worried about what counts and figuring out those final spots on the roster. And we'll have Jake Trotter's going to be on later this week talking about his 53 that he's putting out. It's going to be so interesting to see what happens. And we're talking about 10 or so spots. I think it's probably really in their minds already down to like 2 spots.
Right.
And how they decide how heavily do we weigh special teams versus positional importance versus, somebody that we could see actually playing a role on the field other than special teams this year. And how many guys, I think one of the big questions is probably how many guys do we keep at defensive tackle knowing that this is a defense that in many situations will probably only have 2 DTs on the field, but in money situations, a lot of time probably going to have 1.
Yeah. Don't you think that defensive tackle and just offensive line is the most interesting from just a numbers standpoint now, especially with the injury to Jacob Phillips? It almost feels like those are the 2 where it's like, because when you talk about special teams, that's linebackers, receivers, running backs, defensive backs, that's special teams.
Yep.
So when you talk about positional importance, we're talking about defensive tackles, DNs, I think we know what that number is going to be. It's defensive tackles and it's offensive line. How many do you keep? And can you rob Peter to pay Paul somewhere else? And that's why I look at guys like, I look at Demetric Felton and I look at Johnny Stanton. I think it was significant that Stanton played tight end and Dave gave you some fullback. And I think that's significant. And that's a guy who can he do special teams at a rate that Mike Prefer's happy about. And Felton being able to cross-train and do a little running back and a little receiver. That's, not that he was ever in question. He's in it a lock. But I
think so, yeah.
Feels like it.
Right.
But I think that versatility is critical, when it comes to putting this thing together.
Yeah, and not only that, it's looking at also who can we release that we feel really comfortable, and that's part of the intel that the front office is doing that can come back and be on our practice squad. Like, for example, would Johnny Stanton be a guy that we would be able to keep on our practice squad, and then he's with us, and if you ever need him for a game, you can elevate him with these new practice squad rules. So there are so many, I think, ways that they are looking at how do we construct this? Where can we make a move for somebody we want to keep in our program and not risk losing them? Who are the guys that they've either got to be here and on the 53, or we're willing to let them out of our program. And that's what makes, I think, these final few decisions so hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a great point in terms of who can we sneak through. And certainly you bring up Stanton, and that would be an ideal candidate for that, because let's face it, not a lot of teams in this league carry fullbacks
in general,
and tight ends in general. So it's a position that might be easier to sneak through than it would be at offensive line, for example, to sneak through. So those are all of the games that Andrew Berry is playing, and lucky for us, he's as good as it gets at playing these games. It also is this is very different, because if you think about cutdown day and what it's meant in the past, and you were talking about so many different roster spots and so much unknown, that we are talking about the very bottom of this roster.
Yep.
We're not even talking about the primary backups on the offensive line. We're talking about the backups for the backups, because the primary backups, I think, are locked. So it's the backups to the backups that we're talking about. Defensive tackle is the one that is really tricky, because there is high-end talent in that room. As you eloquently pointed out, on past situations, maybe only one of them play. But from a ceiling standpoint, and I'm looking directly at Malik McDowell, you go, well, that's something else there. If we can harness this, that could be a different level of player, but who knows?
Can you carry him, knowing that they've even said we haven't seen it on a practice field, but just bear with me for a second. Is it feasible to carry him as your fourth defensive end, knowing that he can do some outside, inside, Malik can do some inside, outside? Now, again, we haven't seen them play anywhere but defensive tackle, but if you feel like those guys are more elite than perhaps those who are competing at the defensive end spot behind your top three, can you do that? And I don't know the answer to that.
I bet they do, though. They're close to getting it, right? Yeah. I mean, he's the one I think that's a real wild card in this.
But at the same time, you go on the other side of it, knowing everything that he's been through.
Yep.
The fact that he's never played a snap in the NFL.
Right.
How many teams in the league would say, oh, yeah, we're going to put him straight onto our 53?
True, but if you saw what we saw at the end of the game last week, and you have the reputation that our front office has for talent evaluation, I think the flyer might be a bigger flyer than we previously would have thought based on what's happened on the field.
Sure. Congrats to the Giants' third string, but there's no doubt he stood out and looked like
he's a dude,
a monster. Yes, listen.
Yes.
Since the first time I saw him on the field at rookie minicamp, I was like, "Oh my god," because he looks like Calais Campbell to me. He just looks like a different style human.
Yeah, and I think that, and they, Togei's a gamer. He's at a nice camp. He's a guy you draft in the 4th round, so he's in the mix there. It's a Jordan Elliott in the mix there as well, who they drafted high a year ago. So it's just a tricky, that position specifically, I think, will end up being the trickiest to kind of sort through. And maybe they do what you laid out there, where you say, hey, let's get him here, and maybe some of these guys they can get through. But it's a really interesting room, because it's a wide array of different skill sets that all of those guys kind of possess. And McDowell has something physically that, frankly, nobody else in that room has. So that's if it can be counted on, and it's just been a long time.
Yes.
He was unbelievable at Michigan State. If you're sick and tired of your outdated kitchen, this is the perfect time to upgrade to a new modern design. At Northeast Factory Direct, cabinets include all the upgrades: solid wood, full extension drawer glides, cushion closed drawers and doors. And right now, stop in, take your photo with Flat Alex for a chance to win a $500 gift card. Just tag Northeast Factory Direct on Facebook or Instagram to be entered into the drawing. So if you're thinking about remodeling your kitchen, go to northeastfactorydirect.com. Schedule your appointment today. Coming up next, an all AFC North, all preseason team we'll take a look at. Go around the league as well. Lots to get to. It's coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, guys, EOX Vantage connects core systems that don't talk. From reporting and analytics to insight and decision-making, gain a more real-time, complete picture of your business. You can eliminate Excel nightmares from processes and visualize your important data in one place. You can gain real-time insight to make decisions on performance through role-based visualization. With EOX Vantage, you can benefit from lower overall costs, better alignment between tech and business needs, scalability, ease of deployment, and management. EOX Vantage makes your data work smarter. It's that simple. Move your business forward. You're all about growth, and your software should be too. With EOX Vantage, your company is going to scale effortlessly. Local presence, but global footprint, trusted by some of the world's biggest brands, and the 2021 Cleveland Plain Dealer Top Workplace winner. Head to www.eoxvantage.com for more. It is a First Friday, and I would be remiss. It's with heavy hearts that we're doing the show today. So this was Bootsy's first day of school.
My kids were yesterday.
Yeah. Well, this is his first day of real school.
Of any? Oh yeah.
And the end. So this is the end. This is kindergarten day one for my bright shining boy.
I bet there was a great picture though. I bet there was something. Was there what kind of fanfare?
He knows how to pose.
Of course.
Let's not kid ourselves. He knows how to pose. So he's posed well. All reports from drop off was that it was a success. That he was fearless. That he stormed in. And was ready to conquer the world. But when it's your last, and you guys have dealt, when it's your last going into kindergarten, I continue to do the show from home for the 76th week, and like my wife left at like 8 o'clock, and it was just silence. And I went, wow. Because he's always been here in the mornings. He's the holdover. A lot of times it'd be he and I.
Yeah.
You know? Gone.
The boldness. He's spreading his wings, brother.
It's crazy.
I've got the last first day tomorrow.
Oh, boy.
Last
the
first
last
day.
First day.
Boy.
Wow.
That'll hit you.
It goes. It'll go. It just floats on. So away we go. So yeah, we'll have to pour one out, and we'll have a full report.
Is it a full day of kindergarten?
It is.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a full day.
It's not a half day. Woo.
No, and he's big on he loves a snack. Like he loves a snack. That's his real. I think he basically spends the day just trying to position himself for snacks. Like that's basically what his summer entailed, was just trying to find ways where he was in a position to get a snack. He's wants to know, oh, what are you doing? Just in case you're getting a snack so that he can piggyback on the snack, even if he's already had several snacks. And the snacks.
What's at the top? What's on his Mount Rushmore of snacks?
Oh, crackers. For sure. Like any sort of crackers and cheese, any sort of, loves a chip. Loves a chip.
Sure, who doesn't love a chip?
Just crushes a chip, but loves a cracker and cheese. You get him a cracker and cheese plate, and he'll just
nice.
He's so excited.
Any pepperoni with that? Any sausage?
Oh, he loves a salami.
Loves
a little salami.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, he makes a little salami, cheese, and cracker sandwiches. He calls them.
Right
just
in my
devours
wheelhouse.
them. Oh, who doesn't? It's delicious. Yeah. So that's it. So when he was leaving this morning, I was like, boy, this wasn't a robust breakfast out of you, Bootsy. And there's no snacks for a while, brother.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to hit.
I wonder if he lives in a world where if he were to walk through a wall, for example, walk into a wall, a door would magically appear and open, and he would walk through. And he's now going to a world where those things aren't going to happen anymore, which that can be one of the most difficult parts of this.
I think that's a hell of a way to put it. I do think he's, like in the old Looney Tunes where they would build the train track as they walked.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of how he is. Yeah, I think that's right. That's just how his life has been. So we'll see. I'm very interested to see. He did not get his morning swim in. He was upset about that. There was no time. There's no time. What are you going to do? There's no time. You're going to have to get up earlier, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. No time to get to Bed Bath & Beyond. So for all of you, it's, the last one, when they go off, you're getting old. We're getting old, kids. One step closer to the desert, though, for Uncle Beau. So that is a winner, as I'm now counting down the years for a little more arid climate. The downpours in August, I've had enough.
Enough. It's either been like a gajillion degrees or it's been pouring.
It's getting ready to do it again.
Yeah. Don't say that, Gibby.
It is.
It is.
Well.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. And Gibby and I were talking before the show that we saw, both of us saw on weather.com, that we're headed for a predicted hotter than normal fall, which is going to minimize our foliage. and the colors that we all enjoy so much. So, look, my view on that is you had all summer to be 90. You had all summer. It's not my fault that you didn't take advantage of it summer. You had all year.
You did.
You had months.
You don't know.
I don't need 92 in September, Coach. I don't need it.
No. Same.
I don't need that.
Real quickly,
go ahead.
Out at
Go ahead.
practice, just a couple of notes here for the Browns. Denzel Ward, Tack McKinley, Anthony Schwartz, and Porter Gustin all back at practice today. Miles and Clowney were at practice yesterday, so we're getting close there. Greedy, Taki, and JOK on the bikes as the team stretches per Zach Jackson, who is currently out there. Of course, JOK suffered that head injury of some type yesterday doing weightlifting. No mention of Grant Delpit or MJ Stewart, though.
Well, yeah. We talked about this yesterday with Grant in terms of you're not there yet, but the clock is ticking, and Schwartz would be in that mix as well in terms of if you're going to be counted on to do anything significant against Kansas City.
Marissa Tomei is doing one of these things right now. She's stomping her feet.
Yeah.
She's doing this. The clock is ticking, okay?
The clock.
In that case, it was biological. In this case, it's football.
It's football clock. Yeah. It's ticking. And if you're going to contribute in that opener early in the season, it's time to get on the field a little bit. Not that they don't want to. Obviously, they want to. It's just not happening. Sometimes the injury bug happens. Did you guys happen to watch, or have you seen? We'll get to this the All AFC North in a second. Did you guys see the opening of Hard Knocks last night by chance?
Was that the drone shot?
Have you seen it making the rounds? Yeah, have you seen that drone shot?
So I've seen it on Twitter. When I tried to watch it, which was earlier today at the gym, it did not load, but people are making a big deal about it. So I will find it because I know who tweeted. I know the NFL tweeted it.
It's 3 minutes long.
Okay.
So it'll take a whole break. I'm not somebody who gets all jacked up about drone shots. Like, I think they're cool, but I'm not like, oh boy, this is kind of it. It's a remarkable accomplishment, and it's an incredible flex for Jerry Jones, which is what yesterday's episode was an incredible flex for Jerry Jones. Did you guys see it by chance?
All I know is I have not watched that Hard Knocks. I honestly haven't even. I watched the first. This was the third.
Yeah.
Was this the third?
This is third.
I watched
episode,
the first two. The
It's
ratings
funny,
are
too,
not
because
doing
the guy-
well because we're the world's
Well,
team.
I think that's a little deceiving because streamers won't give numbers, and
Yeah.
HBO Max
It's
is
basically
a
all
big part of it.
streaming. Yeah, sure.
It's all streaming.
But
So,
we're the
like, when
world's
you
team.
hear that, no one's watching, it's 275 viewers. Well,
That's
how many people have HBO Max and are watching it that way? So, the idea that you went from, 900,000 viewers with the Raiders to 279,000 with the Cowboys when the guys they're featuring are Dak and Emmett and Zeke Elliott and CeeDee Lamb, like they're giving you their stars. You have complete access to Ezekiel Elliott.
It's not like the Devin Kajus.
Not
season?
Devin Kajus.
No. Okay.
No.
He's quite an interesting individual.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole crystals
I don't know that I
thing.
need. Did we need 2 episodes on crystals
No.
for a guy who was never going to make the team?
That was where they focused way too much on guys that were not going to make the team in our season. You're getting a star season, so that part of it's interesting.
that was probably by design.
Yeah.
From our front office at the time.
Sure.
Because it's not like the Hard Knocks guys know who to follow or who to mic or, obviously they would want to do all of the A-listers is what they would want to do. But you are getting Zeke and Dak. But the flex that happened, not only was the drone thing stunning because it shows what Jerry built down there in their brand new practice facility. Basically, the city. He built a city is what he did. It's unbelievable. But it also, so they're going to the preseason game, and the camera's on Jerry. And he's in the chopper. And he goes, let's go. So they're following Jerry, and he's in the chopper, and he's going over to Cowboy State, to AT&T Stadium, whatever it's called. So they're going over there, and he gets a call from Steven saying, why'd you leave me? His son.
Yeah.
Who's like 60 or whatever. He's like, why'd you leave me? And Jerry's in like kind of annoyed. But he's like, yeah, all right, I guess we got to go get Steven. Turn it around. Let's go get Steven. So they drive the chopper around. They turn the chopper around, and they go pick up Steven. And Jerry's like, well, nothing can go smooth. Nothing can go smooth, can it? Like, he's annoyed that his son couldn't be there on time to be on the chopper, right? So then the chopper lands. The chopper lands, and there's fans around, and Steven kind of hightails it into the stadium, and Jerry goes right out glad-handed with the people.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Just
Man
loves
of the
it.
people. He does love it. He
Just
eats
loves
it.
it.
He eats it up.
It was it's an incredible flex.
Do you feel like you're getting any insight whatsoever on the Dak shoulder situation?
Well, I mean, it's pretty straight. You know, he doesn't feel right.
But
and
nobody seems to be
you're
saying
not
what it
getting
is.
Well, they brought in, I mean, they talk about it in the previous episode. I mean, they brought in like the guy who's like the coordinator with the Rangers and the Yankees, and their trainer talked to him and say, "What do you think?" And they basically said, "Look, it's just rest." And then it's kind of on Dak, like, "Look, you're gonna can you play through this?" So Dak wants to practice, you know, like he's practiced. And at one point in one of the episodes, he kind of lashed out at Garrett Gilbert because Garrett Gilbert, you know, was getting the reps and he wasn't, and you know, he wants to play.
Yep.
And so that you're getting a little bit of that.
Real quick, just jumping in, Sheldrick Redwine and Jamarcus Bradley also both back at practice today for the Browns. This will be the first time we've seen Sheldrick Redwine in quite some time.
Big weekend for him coming.
Yes. I think he's well liked in this building. I think that Sheldrick Redwine is a guy that they feel pretty good about.
So then are you at 5 safeties?
I think you might be.
Well, we did the crunch yesterday on the numbers, so it starts to get dicey.
It could be at 5 corners. You could be maybe not at 5 defensive ends. Maybe you're only at 3 tight ends on your final 53.
Yeah. Well, and if you can, yeah, I mean that would be a way to do that. Certainly, would be that gives you that ability to do that. A couple other news and notes around the league from this morning. Sony Michel traded to the Rams. So it's a 5 and a 6 going back to New England. Compensatory pick if the Rams get one in the deal. Rappaport reporting it this morning. It's done. It's official. He has not passed a physical yet, and I heard some stuff that he may fail that. So that's a part of that as well this morning around the league when I was hearing that. The thing that is amazing about Michel, and he has been hurt, is, of course, when you think of him around here especially, you think he was drafted 4 spots ahead of Nick Chubb.
Yep, from the same backfield in Georgia.
Yeah.
He's a guy who looked, when you watched Georgia at the time, in those games, he looked like he had a lot of wiggle. He looked pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And he was. And I was just going to say real quickly, even though maybe he hasn't lived up to the first round hype of his draft status with that team, he did a pretty good job on one of their Super Bowl runs. He was pretty dominant in that playoffs. That's when they kind of gave him the ball, and he ran pretty wild, as I recall.
Yeah, and they have Damian Harris there, who will end up being their number 1, the kid out of Alabama, so he'll be their number 1. And so they can do this. I think what it is more than anything against Sony Michel, and certainly the way that we think about it here from the Nick Chubb perspective, I think what it mostly is just Bill Belichick drafting offensive skill players in the first round, not great.
Not a great.
In fact, the opposite.
Yeah.
Of great. He just hasn't been able to do it. He has not been able to identify offensive skill players in the first round. It's been a failure in that sense.
Larry Maroney comes to mind. Here's what Sony Michel did in 2018 when they won the Super Bowl in their playoff run. 3 games. He ran for 336 yards and 6 touchdowns on 5 yards a carry. 112 yards per game.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. So, from that standpoint, did a pretty good job for him.
And it's a nothing for the Rams because they can now – I want to say that the picks involved here, some of them have to do with the John Johnson deal, so letting Johnson go allows them to get these picks. So, and it's a no risk for them. This is basically a bridge to Cam Akers getting back next year, or they can go another way, so it's a low-risk thing for their standpoint.
Yes.
And I believe the running back coach of the Rams is a Georgia guy.
Was his
so
running back coach at Georgia.
So there's familiarity there for Michel in the back.
The biggest,
so
the
that's
biggest
a nice
loser in
spot
all
for
this, is Darrell Henderson, who, from a fantasy standpoint, was looking like he had a chance to be a pretty prominent player, and he still is good. But if Sony Michel's coming in there, that significantly limits his upside.
I don't know what it is, but they just don't like him that much, because last year when he played, he produced.
Yeah.
You thought this year that he would shine without Cam Akers, but every chance they can to add to that room, they do.
Yes.
rather than make him the bell cow. They just don't want to do it.
They don't see him as a bell cow. That is
They don't
clear.
see him that way.
100%.
No, and they did it last year and they did it this year. And honestly, he was, if memory serves, I want to say I'm pretty sure I had him in fantasy last year. When he got the opportunity, he was pretty good.
Great. Yes. No.
Yeah,
He was
it's
excellent.
strange. Yeah, it is strange. There is a disconnect there. Also around the league, Dwayne Haskins going to start for Pittsburgh on Friday against Carolina, trying to be that third-string quarterback. Both Ben and Mason Rudolph will sit it out. Boy, this is a big one for him, about as big as it gets where his NFL career is concerned, and with the ability to start and get at least the full half for Pittsburgh in that final preseason game.
He couldn't beat out Mason Rudolph?
There is, I don't get it. Their track record's pretty good with developing their own talent, and we know that they like to do it. They do this at all the other positions. They stash a guy for a while, then they come out and they're good. It happens especially on defense. You guys have read the same stuff I had from their beat people on Mason Rudolph. Like, they believe in him. I've not seen it, but they love him, and I love it that they love him.
I haven't seen it at all, although he did throw a couple nice vertical balls against us in that Week 17 that gave us a little bit of a scare. It is wild. Dwayne Haskins, did I ever, after seeing him that game, remember, I told you in the warm-ups in that Washington game, I didn't think he was going to be, I was like, whoa, this is just nuts, guy throwing the ball around without pads on, and it looks awful. But
yeah,
I also did see him at Ohio State, and the notion that he can't even be a backup in the league is pretty stunning to me.
Yeah. But what we don't know is what's his attention to detail in the room, what's his give a damn level, what's his preparedness. That was something that dogged him at Ohio State, and I think it dogged him with Ron Rivera, in Washington as well. I mentioned earlier that Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to start for Cincinnati. First time he's played since his knee was shredded. I'm a little surprised. My hunch is, talking to people down there, that this was Joe saying, I need to play. You need to let me play a series. And so they're going to let him do it. But it's really risky, especially considering what you heard not 10 days ago down there on him, that he was still kind of seeing shadows a little bit. Maybe that's why he's playing. But he was still seeing some shadows around his feet a little bit.
Which is not surprising, given the state of duress that he was under the majority of his rookie season, the injury that he suffered as a result of that duress. It is, given the circumstances I think that we talked about earlier, I understand why he is playing. But it does surprise me a little bit. It does surprise me a little bit that they're running him out there. But perhaps they're trying to get him in. If he's playing, obviously everybody's playing, right? Probably maybe they're trying to get Jamar Chase going, because Jamar Chase right now.
It's a horrible camp.
Yeah.
He had a great day yesterday. He had a great day yesterday down there and caught everything thrown his way, including a contested catch. So he did finally have a day.
Aren't we?
And they were waiting.
Aren't we happy that these aren't the things that we are discussing?
This is the whole. Now, look, I tried telling this to people. I'm glad you brought this up, because I tried telling this to people. When people ask, like, I had somebody ask me, well, what'd you think of Sunday's game? I said, well, not much.
I was watching it in the pool, Coach.
Doing laps.
I thought just relaxing at that point. I thought the guys who called the game were great. I thought those guys were incredibly talented. And I loved listening to their talk and their insight. But in terms of the game, these are who cares situations. Yeah. We don't have these Jamar Chase situations. We're not worried about a rookie quarterback. How does he look in a system? We're not worried about coming back off a catastrophic injury for key players where there aren't people who have already been brought in to help in case there's something that goes wrong again. We don't have these problems. So it makes for a camp that is less interesting, and that's a wonderful thing. You don't want interesting camps.
Right. And you don't need to be, what did our person that we drafted do in practice that was so great today after they've been so bad, and now we're all freaking out about it. We're just excited. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he was our 6th-round pick a year ago. Looks like he could develop into a number 1 receiver, and then you get him in the game, and Case threw a ball a couple feet behind him, and he still somehow caught it, which was incredible on that slant.
Right. Yeah. So it's different, but the good news is the payoff in September will be different too. It'll be different in October, November, December, January. All of that's going to be different as well. Gibby wants to know, we didn't get to this yesterday in better or worse. Bottom 4 teams in the league right now. He asks, how are the Raiders not one of the bottom 4 teams in the league? And he also wants to know where we'd rank Jacksonville. So I think there are 3. I mean, certainly Houston's the worst
Houston,
by a wide
Jacksonville,
margin.
Detroit. And I think they might be in their own little bubble. I don't know about – the Raiders are not, from a talent standpoint, they are not one of the 4 worst teams in the NFL. From a general perception
direction,
of how competent things are happening there in Vegas, they could be bottom 4.
Yeah, I think the Jets are –
They came in and beat us last year in an awful
Well,
scenario, but they beat us.
Sure. Yeah. Don't you think the Jets are in that mix? They're not far from that mix. They've had injuries in camp, big injuries in camp for them. And I know Zach Wilson's looked great, but it's preseason, and that's a team that won, 2 games last year?
Yeah.
They're probably on the outside looking in, but it's awful close. I think the Eagles are woof. They might have some talent, but I don't think they have any coaching.
I think they're a team, Gibbe, that fantasy people are going to love because there's going to be some stat guys. Like I think Jalen Hurts could be a sneaky good fantasy play because he's going to run a lot.
Yep.
I think Rager could be a good guy fantasy-wise. I mean, I think Miles Sanders is there. I think they have some fantasy guys that are really interesting, and sometimes that colors the way you view their organizational competence. But I'm with you. They are definitely the worst of the bunch in that division.
Yeah, I don't think they're anything to write home about. It was funny that I thought the power poll didn't give the Bengals much love.
The Burrow question.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Where did they have them?
They had the Bengals 28th.
Wow.
Oh, they're better than that.
That's what I mean.
They're better than that. Their offense is not not to be trifled with. That's pretty real deal offense there.
Agreed.
Yeah, I will say that when you go around the league and the compounding of talent in certain divisions versus the lack of talent in others, the AFC South, for example, especially if Wentz isn't all there. I mean, they're a good team other than Wentz. They're really good. Tennessee's good, but Jacksonville's really bad. Houston's dreadful. The NFC East, that's valedictorian of summer school in that situation. And then the NFC North, guys, with the exception of Green Bay, who I think has more pressure than any team in football to win the Super Bowl, is the Green Bay Packers. It's this year. They have 10 of 11 starters back on offense, 10 of 11 starters back on defense. It's right now for them. But beyond that, Minnesota's got all sorts of problems on and off the field. The Bears kind of mismanaging this quarterback situation in Detroit is bottom feeder. Meantime, AFC North, NFC West, just loaded.
Speaking of the NFC North, did you guys read the story about the Vikings? That they re-signed Everson Griffin, who, while he was away from the Vikings, basically had some unflattering comments about Kirk Cousins, and now he had to come back and apologize.
Right, and you've got the vax situation there too, where you're talking about, so it's Cousins, Thielen, Cook,
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson.
They've got some talent on offense. They have some names you still know on defense, but I think that they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be great.
No, and there's a lot of issues with Cousins, so It's going to be a very interesting season there. All right, speaking of our division and how good it is, we will go around it, an all AFC North team that we will we'll poke some holes in coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Serious Lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. All right, this is from CBSSports.com. They went through all division, all teams, AFC North. By the way, before we get into the specifics of this, we're right there. This is a heck of a squad. It's a heck of a squad here that could be put together. Yeah. Second only, I would imagine, to the NFC West. Would be the only one that I think might have more overall talent in it. But it's right there as one of the best divisions. You fine with that? Second to the NFC West?
I like it.
All right, so their offensive skill position players, it starts at quarterback with Lamar Jackson. Let's do it this way. Do you anticipate Lamar Jackson having the best quarterback season in the AFC North?
Defined by what?
Not by fantasy.
I don't know that I do, to be honest. I think that
I don't.
I don't, and with this team, now, is he the most dangerous to prepare for in a one-week game?
Yes.
Probably.
I don't like what I'm hearing out of there. I don't like him being asked. He was asked yesterday, has the NFL figured you out? I don't like that he's being asked that or that that's creeping into his head. I don't like that their offensive coordinator is trying to put him under center, who, by the way, is the same offensive coordinator that put Colin Kaepernick under center and made him less dangerous by trying to make him a pocket passer.
Yes.
That's not who Lamar Jackson is. But, by the way, keep doing it because we continue to do Cleveland Browns Daily. I think this could be a bit of a bumpy road in Baltimore this year. For as talented as they are, I think it could be a bit bumpy. And I think that there's a lot of pressure. We saw what happened to them, and they put so much into that Kansas City game. It's almost like they couldn't come out of it once it didn't go their way.
Yeah.
And I think there is a little bit of a mental block there. So I think Baker's going to have the best quarterback season in the division. I do.
I do, too. And with this team and the way that this team is constructed, he's the person that I would want being the quarterback.
Running back not named Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. Nick's obviously the choice. Running back not named Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt that you think will have the best season in the AFC North.
Total yards or just purely running?
Yards / impact. So try and weigh them both.
I mean, all of them. This is a pretty darn good running back division. Najee Harris, I think, is going to be asked to do a lot. Mixon, I know, is going to be asked to do a lot. Dobbins, because of the presence of Gus Edwards and also Lamar Jackson's impact in the run game, probably might not have the full complement of the gaudy stats that maybe the other guys do, although I think he's going to be very good. I mean, this is a loaded division of running backs. I'd say 5 of the top 10 running backs in the league are in our division.
I think Harris is going to be a monster.
I think so, too.
I think Harris is going to be a monster. I think they're just going to ride him.
They need him to be, frankly.
In the run game, they need him to be. I think he'll get all the red zone stuff. I think he's got a great shot to be Rookie of the Year. I don't know it's going to necessarily mean that. I don't think that team's going 13-4 or anything like that. But I think whatever they do offensively, he's going to have a heavy hand in, and I think they're going to lean on him a lot.
Agreed.
And I think in Cincinnati, there's still a little bit of what happened with Joe last year. Like that was just weird. How he just didn't play.
He was disappeared.
You know, so there's right.
Is what he did.
At receiver, they go T. Higgins, who I think is going to be in a monster year in Cincinnati. Chase Claypool and Odell Beckham Jr. I think Jarvis should be in this list.
So that was my problem with the list. And honestly, I think you would probably go. It's hard. Again, tremendous group here. But I'm looking at this and saying to myself, I'm going. I liked what I saw to T. Higgins. I like what Chase Claypool brings. Odell, Jarvis, and then on the other side, outside, you could make the case for either Higgins or Claypool. And if somebody said, look, Odell missed the second half of the season, so we got to go Higgins, Claypool, but then and Jarvis inside. You don't need Higgins, Claypool, and Odell. You need that nice slot receiver, which is somebody that that's what I would be looking for.
Agreed. Yeah. That would be the one there. The tight end is Mark Andrews. I think that's fair. I think our two guys at the top are both going to have big years. I think both of them will have big years, but I understand Mark Andrews being number one here.
Yeah. Mark Andrews his production would say that he is the best tight end in the league, in our division, I'm sorry, based on what he has done the last couple of years. So I have no problem with that.
They have Joe Mixon as the flex. We talked about how good he is. I don't have a problem with it. Certainly Kareem Hunt would be in the mix at that, and I also think J.K. Dobbins would be in the mix for that as well, as a guy that could kind of be in that flex role.
I mean, look,
Cincinnati's receiver core is great. If Chase is who they drafted him to be, and they got Higgins, Chase, and Tyler Boyd, that's great.
It's real good. It's real good. That's why I think they're a little bit better of a football team than the credit that they necessarily get for who they are as a football team.
Well, offensively, they are for sure. We're going to love this offensive line. Ronnie Stanley, the offensive tackle from Baltimore, and then it's all our guys. Conklin, Batonio, Teller, and Shredder.
4 out of 5. Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yep. No, and Stanley's great, so that makes all the sense in the world.
So here's the thing, though, by the way, that the Steelers have nobody on this and nobody even in the discussion. That's the last
they
line.
lost everybody. They have a huge transition. I mean, Villanueva's been there forever. Pouncey's been there forever. Those guys are all gone.
Right. But that's where you think to yourself, okay, this is a little bit of you don't have a mobile quarterback. Ben is not what he used to be. How does this all go as well as you want it to go? And that's the question. And I think it's hard to – and then we're going to get to the answer here. But as we go through, you're going to see that they've got one guy at each of the next 2 levels, but you could make the case that they have none at those 2 levels. But certainly up front, they're still very, very good.
Yeah, the edge will be Miles and T.J. Watt. No argument there. Watt seems to be getting close to signing the richest contracted defensive player has ever signed. By the way, good job. Both, imagine that, one family, and at one point, 2 of the brothers were the highest paid defensive player in the game.
It's outrageous. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And obviously Miles is Miles. Interior, Cameron Hayward, no issue there. Stephen Tuitt in there as well. Stephon Tuitt, rather, in there as well on the inside with Pittsburgh. So they have both of those guys on the inside. Any umbrages you want to take there on the defensive front?
No, I don't have any umbrage at all there. I mean,
Devin Bush and Anthony Walker, your linebackers?
Is Devin Bush back and full go? And if so, what was the Joe Schobert trade about?
It's a great question.
I like Devin Bush. I mean, I loved him at Michigan. I thought he was a stud. I remember lamenting on draft day when they traded up to get him. Patrick Queen did not have a great year last year for Baltimore. Walker is probably the most accomplished. We hope JOK ultimately ends up becoming one of those guys on this list for us. And we know Cincinnati's linebackers are not their strong suit as of yet. So
this is the position group that if you did compare to side by side to the NFC West, that we wouldn't be able to hang.
No, because they'd have Bobby Wagner and Fred Warner.
Right. Yeah. Everywhere else, it's pretty close. Or there's places we have advantages with the NFC West, but this is the one where they kind of lap us a little bit with those 2 guys. Do you think people are aware that Wagner's an 8-time first-team All-Pro?
No.
I don't think they are either.
No, he's first ballot Hall of Fame. He's first ballot.
Walks in.
Folks,
go Google the 8-time first-team All-Pro list. He's either 7 or 8. I think he's 8. I think we did this in the offseason.
There aren't even that many.
There aren't
6.
many.
Certainly not 6 in a row. Doesn't Wagner? Didn't we look at this? Doesn't Wagner have a chance to break? The Huff is 6 in a row.
I think he has a chance to break that, and I think his overall is 8, if memory serves. I could be off, but that's the way I remember the conversation around Wagner with the All-Pros.
Hold, please, if my iPad wouldn't be so slow today, I could get there. So he has 6 total, 5 in a row.
Okay, 5 in a row, 6 total. Okay,
so
not 8. Bad job, enemy.
Still, he's showing no signs of not getting there. Because he's got 5 in a row over the last 5 years.
Yeah. Yep. All right, defensive backfield, Denzel, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, the 2 corners from Baltimore. Yep. That's as good as, and no umbrages there. That's the way as it should be. And then at safety, Minka Fitzpatrick, Jesse Bates, and John Johnson is the flex. That's really good.
It's really good defense. This is a good football team. What it does not have relative to the NFC West, where you would probably put Russ at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have that definite top 5 in the NFL quarterback. But this team would you could roll this out against absolutely anybody. And by the way, I think if Baker has a season like I think that he can, where he goes out and let's say throws for over 4,000 yards, throws for 32 to 36 touchdowns, and has single-digit interceptions.
Yeah, you're in there. You're in that
mix.
conversation.
Yeah.
And what they have over us at linebacker, we have over them at running back, because the NFC West is not a running back driven division.
Well, you saw what John Johnson said. This is big boy football. The NFC West is
that's right.
Spread them out, run it, and throw it around the yard.
Is Carson probably the best one out there? He certainly has probably the best fantasy value. I don't know what's going to happen with San Francisco's guys. I know that early there was a lot of Trey Sermon stuff, but they don't really care. We know what's going on.
Kyle doesn't care. Yeah, Carson's the best, but his issue was to often just staying healthy, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. This is big boy. It's big boy football in the AFC North. It's absolutely loaded. Justin Tucker, your kicker, and that's the way you go there. Sam Koch with Baltimore. Baltimore has all your specialists with Devin Duvernay in the return game as well. So it's
Baltimore's
it's
good.
everything you thought it would be.
Baltimore.
They are. I just don't like the mojo out of there.
It doesn't
from their perspective.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like great mojo. There's no cross
It
mojo.
feels. Doesn't it feel a lot like what happened in San Francisco? And Lamar's far more accomplished than Kaepernick. Took a team to the Super Bowl and is a throw from winning it.
Yeah.
They tried to make Kaepernick something he wasn't. Greg Roman, and I just don't want that. You hope that doesn't happen because you'd like to see talent, blossom.
Yes.
Not against us. But
not against us. I mean, Kaepernick took the league by storm at that point. Nobody even knew what the read option was in the NFL, which is
correct,
amazing. And now it's a part of basically every team's playbook on some level or not. I'm fine if they want to put him in a situation that isn't conducive to his skill set being fully utilized.
Yeah. The Browns High School Football Game of the Week is back, presented by Ohio Cat and associated with MedLiminal. Fans could vote now to determine this week's game on ClevelandBrowns.com and at Browns on Twitter. Poll closes Thursday at noon, so that's tomorrow. This week's candidates: Cleveland Heights versus Garfields Heights, Iggy versus Menor, and Berea Mid-Park versus Nardonia. The winning team from the selected game of the week receives $2,500 for their high school football program. Vote now. St. Ignatius and Menor. That's Titans.
The heavy hitters. Yeah. By the way, I wish we had the
that's
faces that Gibbe has been making recently for Browns therapy. I wish he somehow was getting this whole catalog when Gibbe was looking none too pleased with some of the states of the affairs happening here.
I don't know what's going on. I look forward to the break so I can get kind of the bottom of what's gone on for Gibby in the last 15 minutes, because it has been a disconcerting look, certainly. If you're obsessing over something like football, it can be a problem. If you're obsessing over gambling, it can be dangerous. Do something to take your mind off it. Find a hobby, perhaps. If you want some tips, go to keepitfunohio.com for great ways to keep gambling fun. The NFL 100 list is concluded, at least from the Browns' perspective. We'll tell you where our guys ranked, and if it was just, that is coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for my friends at Weather Seal Home Services. Is your home in need of a facelift? New siding from Weather Seal can give you that new home look without the hassles of moving. Weather Seal's insulated foam siding is going to increase the value of your home, improve your curb appeal, and save you money on your energy bills. Plus, save more with Weather Seal's 7-year zero-interest financing. That's right, 7 years, zero interest. Call my guys today for a free design consultation. Get that brand new home look before the end of the year. Do it now. Give them a call, 877-351-SEAL, or visit WeatherSealHomeservices.com. All right, NFL 100. You know what I think is cool about this, and look, there's a players voting. Now, I don't know how seriously they take the vote. If it's something I've asked guys before, and like a lot of time, it's like, they're after a practice and somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I need you to rate this, and give me your guys," or whatever. And so, I don't know how seriously they take it, but I do like that it's the players only voting on this. I do think that part of it's pretty cool.
I agree with you, and you can see the year-to-year fluctuation and also the respect they have for people who maybe didn't even play a full year but were injured and still make their way onto the list. I think that's a pretty cool part of it.
Yeah, it is. And so our last two guys on the list are Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. So Nick comes in at 26. Myles Garrett comes in at number 16 on this list. So from perspective of kind of who's around those numbers and where kind of you fit, Julio Jones was 29, which is, I think, high at this point in his career. Lamar Jackson was 24. Now, last year he was number 1.
Yep.
DK Metcalf was 22 on the list. And then when you get in that 11 to 20 range, these are guys around Myles: Dalvin Cook, Deshaun Watson, Tyreek Hill, Alvin Kamara, Russell Wilson, and Stephon Diggs in that 11 through 20 area there.
Yeah, Diggs had that tremendous year last year. Kamara, Cook, Nick Chubb were Derrick Henry. Those were the 4 most dominant running backs in the NFL. I imagine Henry's going to end up in the top spot. And I wonder if Nick Chubb's demeanor,
yes,
and the fact that he probably isn't talking to people around the league or any of those
doesn't
things.
Talk to anybody.
Doesn't talk to, right. If that impacts, how he is viewed around the league.
Of course.
Because he is as good as anybody. I did like that Myles yesterday tweeted out, "There are 15 guys better than me." Oh, okay. And take notes. Okay, just go out there and be Defensive Player of the Year. Let's go. I'm here for it.
I think it's that's what it feels like. I mean, obviously that's a goal for him, I'm sure. It feels like that's what's on the table for him, is go win Defensive Player of the Year. Unseat Aaron Donald. Be the best pass rusher in the division ahead of T.J. Watt. Be the best defensive player in the AFC. And thus in the league. Well, Donald's probably. Yeah, that would do it. But, I mean, that's it. It's that time for Myles. It's all lining up. The Clowney part of it only enhances it.
Yep.
This is an 18-sack year. I mean, that's kind of where it feels like you're headed if we can all stay healthy.
And that's the big if. That's the one part that we don't know. But, yes, I do think he has an opportunity to be an elite, a 20-sack guy and be the most dominant pass-rushing force on the edges for sure in the National Football League. And, the opportunity is there for him. I think our team and our game flow will lend itself to even more opportunities than he had in the past. Especially you think about his first couple of years, we were not necessarily a great football team.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a real chance here with Myles Garrett.
I think the other thing that was cool about the piece that aired on Myles, like the 2-minute clip, was just some of the the Jarvis reaction was awesome to it, but also the when they talked about how he doesn't go for kill shots, he goes for the ball. When he gets around the edge, he looks for the ball and takes it off the quarterback's hand. He doesn't necessarily think about crushing the quarterback. He thinks about, I'm going to go take the ball.
Yeah.
And he talked about that. Like when I turn the corner, I see the ball and I say, I'm going to take that. And that's what he did. He did that a lot. And I remember we were on the Stefanski show last year, and I said he did that a couple of games in a row where it was the Cincinnati game and was it Washington where he got
Cincinnati, Washington, Dallas. He had 3 in a row, and then week 5 and 6, week 7, yes. So 3 in a row, and then 4 out of the first 7 games this year he had a sack strip fumble.
So when we were doing one of the shows, and one of us said to him, Coach, can we just pencil him in for a strip sack fumble in the fourth quarter? Like, that's where we're at. Like, we just can count on it. And he actually, you laughed and you say, that's insane. Like, who can do that? But that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. In terms of our guys who didn't make it, no Bitonio, no OBJ, no John Johnson III, and no Denzel on this list. Of those guys, who do you think should have been?
Batonio
deserving?
should be. I mean, 3-time Pro Bowler, 3-time, first or second team All-Pro. John Johnson, it feels like for some reason was under the radar, even though he was in Los Angeles, and I think he will not be under the radar anymore here. And then Denzel Ward, somebody that I would think would be on any top 100 list, towards the top of it, to be sure. But I was surprised, that he didn't get up there. And I think maybe if he puts together a 17-game season, that he'll be there. Because I think you look at the back end and then the front of this defense, they should all have a lot of chances to take the football away, get sacks. I mean, that just should be there for the corners to get the interceptions and the PBUs and all of those things, and for the pass rushers to get sacks. We're just going to be in situations where teams are going to throw on us. And last year, we were not great in those situations. We had a lot of big comebacks against us. Not anymore. Not anymore.
No, won't be the case. It's interesting on John Johnson III, and I've noticed this a little bit with the guys who PFF loves, and John Johnson III, somebody PFF loves, just much like Teller, different players obviously, but you get the point. It almost seems like it takes the rest of the league to catch a full year to get wind of that.
Yeah.
Like almost PFF's a year ahead of the game on, no, trust us, he's good, and then all of a sudden that next year they're great, and they're like, oh yeah, we knew it all along. Well, wait a second. And I feel like that's kind of I see that now that I've paid closer attention to what the PFF guys are doing.
The other guy that I'm surprised is Jack Conklin. I mean, how many first-team All-Pros are not on that top 100? That are not
first-team All-Pro
kickers or punters or fullbacks. Talk about playing tackle in the NFL. You're a first-team All-Pro. The other, I don't know if Bakhtiari was even the other All-Pro. I'm going to guess that he was, and he's 36th on the list.
Yeah.
And Jack Conklin, now he's done it twice. 2 times in 5 years he's been the first-team All-Pro.
Yeah, that's heady stuff there.
Yeah.
Do you think Russell Wilson is better than the 12th best football player in the NFL?
Of course, but that's positional importance, right? I think Deshaun Watson's better than the 18th best player in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to balance that all out.
Yeah. And I think Russell's rep hurts him in regard to players.
That he's just a little bit of an oddball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does seem like that's held against him, a little bit amongst players.
Don't you feel like the top 4 are going to be, in some order, Donald
will be 1.
Mahomes, Rodgers,
Brady. 2. Rodgers. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I would think. And then
who's 5th?
I would assume that Jalen Ramsey's somewhere in the top 10.
T.J. Watt.
T.J. Watt would be in the top 10. Who would be the wide receiver representative in the top 10? Devontae Adams?
DeAndre Hopkins, if he has not shown up on the list yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure who else has or has not. Derrick Henry will be in the top 10.
Derrick Henry will be in the top 10.
Is Bobby Wagner will be in the top 10?
No.
Or is he already named?
So he's already been ranked, Gibbe?
I want to say he was just below Chubb, like 21.
Ooh.
Hold on.
Interesting. I wonder where Fred Warner is on it. Is he in?
Fred Warner was already listed as well. Hold on one second.
He was already listed.
Did
we get to 10? Did we get our 10? Did we get to 10? So you got Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes, Henry, Donald, Watt, Ramsey, Adams.
Maybe Hopkins.
Maybe Hopkins if he hasn't been named.
So, let's see. Stephon Diggs, 11. Russell Wilson was 12. Jalen Ramsey was 13.
Okay.
Oh.
Kamara, 14. Hill, 15. Garrett, 16. Xavier Howard was 17.
Corner from Miami.
Deshaun
what about
Watson,
Gilmore?
Buda Baker, Dalvin Cook.
Gilmore will be in the top 10 then.
Here, I can tell you.
I wonder, was James Bradbury on
this
this
number
list?
21. He was. Fred Warner was 21.
21, okay.
Okay. And you said that Bobby Wagner was like 27?
25th, just below Nick Chubb. I thought I saw him.
Okay. Okay.
I would say it's just above Nick
who are we
Chubb.
missing?
I would say it'd be
wonder
just
who we're
above.
missing.
Here are your top 10 compliments of Danny Cunningham.
All right.
Catch by Danny Cunningham.
Good job out of Danny.
This in
order?
Josh Allen.
Okay.
Josh Allen.
Tom Brady. Aaron Donald.
Josh Allen was number 1?
No. These are the top 10 in no particular order.
Okay.
No order.
This is alphabetical.
All right,
Yeah.
Yes. Devontae Adams, Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Aaron Donald, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and T.J. Watt.
Okay.
So it was Kelce and Allen were the two.
I don't know why. And
it's a bad job.
I'm the biggest Kelce.
Yeah, I know. It's a bad job.
I like to get
bad
those
job
numbers.
Yeah.
That is bad.
All right. Coming up next, this goes one-on-one with linebacker Malcolm Smith. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for Raising Cane's. School is in session. Raising Cane's ready to teach your taste buds a lesson. It's time to feed your brain. Hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers, crispy, crinkle-cut fries, buttery Texas toast, and mouth-watering cane sauce, all from Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's is here to help all school year long. Visit canesandcommunity.com to learn more about Cane's and how it can support your school with fundraisers, sponsorships, and more. They get in the community. It's awesome. Raising Cane's, one love. All right, time for the Z and a little one-on-one chat with linebacker Malcolm Smith. Let's have a listen.
Joined now by Browns veteran linebacker
You're both down.
Malcolm, a veteran of many training camps, I'm sure. But how has this one been for you?
This one's been good. It's been fun to get back after last season. Get to play some preseason games. Get with the young guys to see them flourish, and just get out there and grind every day. It's tough on the body, but it is what it is.
Second year in a row in this defense for you, as you came in last year, filled in great, especially in those passing downs. How much more comfortable are you? You've seen a lot of stuff in this league, and you know a lot of the people here on this staff already. But for you, how nice is it just to be in that same defense again with, in your room especially, pretty much the same guys?
Right. I mean, it's great. We continue to gel, add to the plan a little bit more, and just getting familiar from different spots, seeing things in different angles. It's always good to just add to your game.
How do you approach being a mentor, right? You want to be on the field, you want to be making plays, but you have young guys in that room who have all talked to us whenever we talked to them and said, Malcolm Smith's one of the guys who really helps us out. When did you kind of realize that's something I should do, or was it somebody kind of in your young career who kind of showed you the way?
I think that's just kind of how I was raised as a young player, playing under Ken Norton. Our room was, everybody wanted to succeed. We wanted everybody to have a job at the end of the day. So it was all about helping each other, giving to the game. The game gives to you, you give back to the game, and you'll be fine. You'll be taken care of. When you start shortchanging the game or shortchanging the people around you, or just catty behavior, I guess you could say, it doesn't help the group. It doesn't help the team. So it's much better to give, and because ultimately you'll receive in the end.
JOK said you've really helped him out. What do you see in him as a young player?
Man, JOK is a ball of knives out there. He's got a lot of moves. He's got a lot of instincts. He's got great aggression, great pad leverage, flex, everything. He does everything well as a linebacker. So it'll be great to see how his game matures.
And you bring in Anthony Walker, a guy who played on the good defense in Indianapolis. Seems like he's just kind of fit right into this room as well.
Right. Yeah, and that's how you want it. You want to bring in guys that can just fit in jail and build that camaraderie. So when we go out on Sundays, if anybody goes down, we can hop up and continue to play well and play at a high level, and people wouldn't expect that from our room. So it's great to have A-Walk. He's done an awesome job.
When you think about this team and the journey you guys went on last year, what do you think is needed to take that next step?
I think on the defensive side of the ball, just more consistency. I feel like at times we were great attacking the ball. We got to continue to do that. That's obviously first and foremost, and that's a lot of things we've been focusing on. So being consistent in our execution and attacking the ball, I think will be good.
So you were, as we all know, Super Bowl MVP. You've been to the top of the mountain in this league. Malik Jackson, another Super Bowl champion on this roster. When you think about that time and what that team had, and obviously it was a great defense there in Seattle, but beyond that, what is kind of that special thing that allows very talented teams to go ahead and beat other very talented teams over the course of, 4 or 5 month journey?
I think when you think about it, it's complementary football, and a lot of that comes from the brotherhood you build. The willing to sacrifice for one another, putting the team before oneself. A lot of it sounds like, stuff that you wouldn't really believe on if you're not associated with any teams, but you understand that it goes much further when you go up against somebody who doesn't have that same approach. So that's something we've been focusing on. We can continue to focus on, and we have to do that all year long.
You guys did an incredible job of building those bonds last year through those 4-H talks, but mostly over Zoom and then a little bit of time on the field.
About 3 minutes left.
To go in the locker room, to be able to have the times like even in Jacksonville where we got delayed, but everybody just got to sit around and kind of hang out to build that camaraderie, which wouldn't have been probably possible like that a year ago.
Right, it was impossible a year ago. So it's great because, this is the first time I got to hang out with guys outside of the building this preseason. So it's been good. I think we'll just continue to add to it. That's how football's supposed to be. Even though sometimes Zoom meetings in bed were cool, but you got to get back out there.
You go against this offense every day out here in camp. They are running it back. Your side of the ball, a lot of change. Talked about in your room, up front, behind you as well. When you see this offense kind of running it back like that, what have you seen from them so far?
Man, just great execution up front, just coming off the ball, a lot of intensity, running the ball, being able to throw the ball behind you, over you. Jarvis all over the place. Just love the way he plays, and it's fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie, it's fun to watch.
How do you guys kind of keep the focus on going through day to day, knowing September 12th is out there? And for the Browns, like you with Seattle, the preseason's the preseason. We're focused on the regular season, and then hopefully with the work and doing everything right and getting some breaks, the postseason. Is it kind of hard not to kind of peek ahead a little bit on the calendar there?
I mean, I feel like, we all got to compete to make the team, and we want to see who's competing to be here, and putting that mentality of team before the individual. So, I think that's a good part, to not look ahead. But at the same time, we definitely have an exciting season. The Browns have an exciting season ahead. The fans should be excited. But all that stuff is secondary for us. We're day to day. If we don't do it today, we're not going to be able to do it on that Sunday.
You guys are really snap to snap. I mean, right?
Absolutely, right? Second step to step, almost. You can break it down however you want. So it's about focusing in an immediate and being present. And I think
1 minute left here.
Good job with that.
How long does it take a great defense to gel? And the reason I asked that question is that was kind of one of the things we wanted to see a lot in this training camp. But because of injuries and various things, we really haven't seen everybody all out there together all that often. I know you can go through the walkthroughs, and those are valuable, but how long does it really take a D to gel where we're all seeing through the same eyes?
It takes a while. Sometimes it takes some punch in the mouth, unfortunately. But you'd rather it happen early, so hopefully we get those punches out the way, Yeah.
Absolutely.
30 seconds.
Browns fans to know about you as you get ready for your second season here with this team, and a team that has a chance to do, hopefully, something special and build off of last year's success. What would you want it to be?
I just want the Browns fans to believe, have that confidence. Sometimes you saw on TV last year that's like unbelievable, that we were kind of having the season we were. And we all got to be confident.
10 seconds.
Coaches, players, fans, ownership, everybody. So let's just do it all together and
You're hot.
Show for it.
I love it, Malcolm. Thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, D, good stuff out of you. Good stuff out of Malcolm on that front. That room, any movement, or is it crystallized now? And the Jacob Phillips part's interesting, right?
I think it's crystallized, but are you able, because of the fact that if you want Jacob Phillips to return, you need him to be on that initial 53? Can you carry 7 linebackers on that initial 53, or do you have to let somebody go and expose them, and with the wink wink nod you'll come back?
Yeah. Well, that's where it gets tricky a little bit, right? That's where that's going to be tricky, because you feel like you know exactly who you want to be there. It's just a matter of that. A couple other things from the league at large. Jacksonville naming Trevor Lawrence the starting quarterback down in Jacksonville. Did you happen to see the following tweet?
No.
So they tweet QB1. The next tweet is season tickets link.
Yeah, of course.
Subtle.
Right. Hey, we need people to come out here. Let's go.
And you saw yesterday they got the city of Jacksonville, helped them do that development or whatever downtown that the Jaguars are trying to do with the hotel and all of that. Urban was all excited about it. Sometimes I kind of wonder if Urban thinks he's like still building facilities at like a college campus.
It feels that way. Yeah, it feels that way.
Like, we got to have better hotel because the Cowboys have a better hotel. We got to get a better hotel so we can convince free agents to come here, i.e. recruits. It almost feels like that a little bit. It had to be Lawrence there, but
yes.
you just hope that and it was always going to be. It was silly that they waited that long. But it's also, you got to protect him. He's got to get through it. And I do wonder, when I saw him take off in that preseason game on Monday night, I just thought, boy, don't make a habit out of that kid.
No, it's one of you feel like he's in a situation that at least right now, granted they've said that their offensive line's not healthy, but it looks like kind of what Joe Burrow was dealing with. They do have some nice skill talent, but he's going to get hit a lot back there.
Yes. Yep, he is. The other starting quarterback announced today was Teddy Bridgewater. He will start in Denver over Drew Lock. So that is, Lock was drafted, and they liked him a lot, and we kept hearing about Lock. You will recall that I was never a fan. If you remember a year ago, I was not. And now neither are they. And so it's a guy you're a big fan of, Teddy Two Gloves, who will get another opportunity there.
Yep.
And then clearly what this says is they will be in the quarterback market one way or another at the end of this season, where either they'll draft or if it's Rodgers, that's always the landing spot for him. That's it. That's the spot. He goes there. They're a contender right now. I don't want him here. Go to Washington. That's a good spot for you, too. I don't need you here. in the AFC, but that's the spot for him if this season is over. But Teddy winning that job, they can't get that quarterback right. If Manning didn't go there, Z, which was an upset at the time, man, it's a long ways without competent quarterback play in Denver.
Yeah, a long, long time. But they've got a lot of pieces there. Teddy is a guy who, when he plays with a good defense, has a winning record in the NFL. They will have a good defense. He's got some nice weapons. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant. I love Javonte Williams that they drafted out of North Carolina. Melvin Gordon there to provide some veteran, leadership at running back. They've got nice pieces. They really do. So I think they're going to be better than people think. I think they will be a tougher out, and we'll see them on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, going to be fun. All right, still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Catch the Browns preview show tonight at 7, University Hospital's Cleveland Browns Radio Network. James Hudson and also Jim Donovan will join Ken Carmen and Gerard Cherry on the program tonight. We didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday, but Curb is coming back. Oh. It's coming back in October. Oh, boy.
Pretty good.
It really is. I'm so intrigued by the idea that this season was shot amidst a pandemic and
Yeah.
what LD is capable of.
Well, I think
in
he's gonna
pandemic.
I think he's going to enjoy. That's going to factor in heavily into how thrilled is he going to be to get out of so many interactions.
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. Yeah, I would have. I wonder where they'll, because I was watching the one where he was on Broadway and the producers. I watched a couple episodes of it last night just for old time's sake. So great. But like, of course, every season kind of has a theme to it. So I'm wondering what the overarching, the Spite Store last time around. I'm curious what the overarching theme amidst a pandemic will be.
Mocha
30
Joe
seconds.
and Latte Larry.
Latte Larry, yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
good.
Very much. The next level is coming up next, guys. Thanks for listening, everybody.